Welcome to Dojo.live, the place where top minds in travel and hospitality check in to share insights and breakthroughs shaping the industry. Brought to you by Encora, your trusted partner for AI, cloud, and data-driven innovation. Enjoy your stay. Hello, and welcome once again to Dojo Live this Thursday, June 12th, 2025. Here on Dojo Live, we spotlight the trends, technologies, and people redefining the future of travel and hospitality. I am your host, Kim Lantis, and today we're diving into episode number 6, if you can believe it, of our Empowering the Ecosystem Insights from Hospitality's Tech Enablers series. Today's episode is titled More Than a Matchmaker, Rethinking Tech Consulting Beyond Procurement. And here to help me dive into this topic is my co-host, America Guerrero.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Greg. Nice to see you, meet you, and co-host your show.
Absolutely. Welcome, Greg. Gregg Hopkins, president of Get Hoppy Consulting. Today, Greg, you're going to be helping us answer the question of what should a complete ROI-driven consulting engagement look like in today's hospitality tech landscape. So thank you once again for being on Dojo Live. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me back. It's great, always great to see you.
Oh, we love it. We love it. You know, Greg, as you know, we like to start our show with the story of our guests. You have been deeply involved in the hospitality industry for several decades now. Did I go there? I just went there, but it's so impressive. And the first thing I have to ask is a little bit about that story and also what keeps you passionate about the industry.
You know, it's funny because there's been a couple of times I kind of said, okay, why do I do this? I mean, why can't I go out and do technology outside of like hospitality and look into some of the other verticals? But you know, it's a passion that you have. I started work. My original job was in a hotel. I stayed in the hotel business because it was convenient when I went to school, when I worked the night audit. And then the hotel I was working at had technology. It was one of the first hotels. This is how old I am. Was one of the first hotels in the world to have computers behind the front desk that was checking people in. And then the technology company would bring their prospects by my hotel, right? And so then they recruited me to come work for them. And you know, I've stayed in it, and I have a passion for it. I love the consulting aspect of it. Because it's new challenges all the time, and you're solving problems and you're helping people using all these years of experience and relationships that I've built over the years. So, I mean, it's real easy to keep your passion. You know, Kim, they say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, and I am living that dream, and I've been blessed in that way.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I love it. And it's amazing that you also have the hands-on actual operational experience to work in conjunction with what you do on the tech side, in your consulting side. I think that what's the saying? The hard knock life, right? You learn by doing. And I think that's some of the best ways to go about it.
That's one of the biggest values of doing it, because I've lived that train wreck, or I've been there. I've got the bruises and scars to show it. So I can say, no, I know how this movie ends, and we're going to rewrite the ending because you're going down that path, and that those real life experiences resonate with your client base, so they can and they appreciate the fact that you're doing that, because nothing is worse than a person, especially a consultant, says, well, I told you so. I told you if you did that, that was what's going to happen. Well, let's just prevent that from happening at all, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And part of this is you being very vocal about the somewhat traditional approach to tech consulting and hospitality. Now, I know from your view, it's a bit broken. Curious as to what's broken and why the current model is often falling short. And, you know, how should a consultant's role kind of evolve to bridge that gap? So what's falling short and why? Okay. And how do you see it evolving?
Well, there's three basic components to typical needs of a hotel organization or a hospitality organization, and looking at technology. Actually, I take it back. There's 4 parts to it. First of all is the assessment. So having someone with experience that can go in and look and say, okay, what do you need, and what's working today, and what's going to be obsolete soon, and what technology are you missing from your tech stack in order to do that? This whole call me up, say I need to replace my property management system, and we're just going to do a rip and replace isn't the right way to do it. You need to look and say, what's your problem now, and see if you can mediate those issues with your current vendors. And if you can't, that's okay. But then we can identify what systems need to be replaced or upgraded, what systems are becoming obsolete and they're going to need an attention, or what are you going to miss. So that first assessment is really key to establishing what the goals that you're trying and aligning that assessment to what your goals are, instead of that we've always done it this way, or the technology forces us to do it that way. How do you want to run your organization? What do you want that guest journey to look like? What kind of experience from a technology point of view are you looking for your guests to have? What labor inefficiencies do you have in your organization? What operational inefficiencies? And identifying all those and then using technology to fix that. So typically from there, you go into a procurement phase, which includes an RFP, right? So you'll take all your needs and requirements, or you should have all your needs and requirements. You're going to match those up and play a little matchmaker, which is traditional in that. Now, then from there, the contract's awarded and determined. I'm a little bit different because I don't parade a multitude of vendors by my clients. I will come with them with a recommendation on this is who I think is the best fit for your organizations, because they don't have time to sit through all those presentations and they get confused. I do all that hard work and I document everything that's going on. Now, then the contract award is determined and then you negotiate that. That's one of your first ROIs. That should be your primary ROI, is that the money that a consultant, through their experience, knowing what you need, what the current competitive market pricing is, and that should help offset your fees, should offset what you're saving in your purchase. Okay, so basically, it's net zero for what you're paying the consultant, because you're getting discounts and concessions that you've worked out with the vendors. Most cases, right? Now at this point, this is where it's broken. Okay. Most consultants will do the first two things pretty well. This is usually when they leave. They're done. Okay, we've picked out your solution. Good luck. Let me know how it turns out. And that's wrong, because also in the vendor side of it, you get transitioned from a sales organization to an implementation organization, right? So does sales do a good job of telling implementation what's going on? Yeah, sometimes. Most of the time they don't. But implementation's goal is to train you and implement their solution. They don't really have a lot of insight of what else is going on in the tech stack and what the overall goal is. So if they can get their system deployed and installed, great, we're done. That's all we need to do. So there's no commonality. So your consultant needs to stay involved with that and be the actual project manager that's herding all the cats, the vendors, the employees, the training schedules, the hardware deliveries, all those, the technical pieces of it. He or she needs to be really involved with what's going on with that. So once implementation is done and they've delivered everything that they think they bought and what was sold to them, now you're going to get transitioned the vendor from the implementation team to the support team. Again, knowledge is lost in that point, and support's job is to fix anything that's broken in the process. And some organizations have implemented customer success, which I love, which helps drive the adoption. But someone needs to go in and say, okay, did what we buy, did it fix our goals that we had in the beginning? Who's responsible for that? And to put the accountability to say, hey, we've done all this. It's kind of like if you went to the doctor and had open heart surgery, which is as dramatic as some of these technology implementations are, think you didn't have any follow-up. The surgeon came or the surgeon said you need this, and you got turned over to another surgeon that didn't really understand your medical profile or anything, and they do the work on your open heart and they sew you up and you don't have any follow-up.
Or they just say, just come to me if you feel like something's not okay.
If something's broken, if you still got pain, then give us a call and we'll see what we can do. But there's nothing there. So the whole that end-to-end cradle to grave approach is missing from most hospitality consultants and what they're doing. So there's a big miss involved with there, and they need to be there from beginning to end in order to serve as that trusted advisor and that someone who has the experience and is doing this full time as a consultant, and they're not in between jobs and they're just picking up a gig along the way in order to deliver the highest value back to them. Because most times you'll get most of the time that consultant will then get retained as they go on the line, because technology will always be changing the things that they're going to be doing. So I you need to partner with someone that provides vision and leadership and planning and complete project management skills to help ownership and hotel leadership deliver on what they're on and support the processes that they're trying to run effectively.
I'm glad you touched in the implementation gap. I'm curious about the adoption and long-term value. What are those? Can we go dive deep? Can we go dive deeper into what happened post-election in terms of with these two elements, adoption, long-term value, and what are these often overlooked, and how do we stop turning a blind eye?
Well, the adoption is so key, right? Because
Uh-huh.
if you implement a new system, the staff doesn't use it, you've wasted your money. So you need to measure the adoption, and you find out what's making them not use the system, or what's making them not want to use the solution that's been installed, and making sure that it aligns with what they need in order to help them do their job. In a perfect world, and my goal is to make the technology brilliantly boring. I want to make it so it just always works. There's no chaos. It's easy to use, because housekeeper goes to sign in and it doesn't accept their sign in. Well, they're not going to use it. Or they say they have to go back 5 times to make sure the room is clean. They're not going to use it. So you need to make sure they're using it, and you got to express to the employees that are the users of the system what the benefits are, why it makes their job easier, and how it helps that. And that's the greatest, and to monitor that adoption along the way. That's why I usually report back to ownership, and that helps with adoption too. If they know the guys going back to them and telling them where it's working out well and where it's not. You got to remember too, is when they're doing an implementation, it's like drinking from a fire hose. Okay, there's so much stuff coming in, and they don't know what's done. So another key thing that we look for is that, like, post installation, like 30, 60 days post go live, to go back and say, okay, what don't you understand now, so we can go to level 2 of where we want to go on this system, and not try to do everything in the first phase, but get it so it's operational. And then we'll get a little more complex once you're used to what's using. I mean, you're not going to jump over 17 buses on your motorcycle on the first time you get on your bike, right? You're going to get used to it before you start going to make it a little bit more special how it works.
Absolutely. You touched on this a little bit already in terms of the ROI that hoteliers might be able to expect when they come into, a holistic consulting engagement like yours, in terms of, okay, net zero, because many times the discounts and other things that you're able to provide fall into play. But beyond that, even with like the vendors that they're utilizing, I mean, when there's good technology, a good tech stack, everything's working like it should. Are we talking about, streamlining that? What types of benefits have you been able to see?
Yeah, you'll find operational efficiencies. Okay, so you're getting more work done with less. You'll find labor efficiencies where your staff can do more, or with less, with less, with having to do less things because of the technologies enabling those. Where you may look at that and say, well, instead of having 6 front desk clerks, I only need to have 4, or I may be able to reallocate resources. I had a hotel that moved their front desk to the curb. So instead of having the big lines of the check-in, they check everybody in as they pull in to the resort. And that's where your valet is done. That's where your bellman is. And that's where your guest services are, all in one spot. Well, the economy of that scale worked out really well from them, because they reduced their guest reception staffing, which was bell staff, valet staff, and guest services staff. They dropped it by 20%. Now that's a big savings over the course of a year. And when you're looking at the guests, and guest satisfaction went up. So that's an implied ROI, because we know when guest satisfaction goes up, occupancy goes up, because loyal guests stay at places they like, right? There's a lot of ROI that can be delivered if you make the operations more efficient, and you can look at the labor efficiencies. And Kim, I got to tell you, when we're doing that at first assessment thing, I look at everything you're paying for now. I'll find subscriptions that they're paying for that they haven't used in 3 years. And you'll find pieces in there that just goes through there. And sometimes they don't know, because, the food and beverage manager approves it, and he hasn't, and accounting just pays it. And he doesn't know what it is. They don't know what it is. And they just pay it along the way. And when I ask the question, well, what do you use that for? And how's that being used? And they go, we really don't use that anymore along the way, but it's in the payroll cycle. So all kinds of crazy.
Wow. So cleaning house, cutting costs. And what I really like too about the example that you used about the curbside check-in, it makes me think of airports when they take your
Yeah,
suitcase when you
it's
get out
very,
of the airport.
it's
But
very, it's similar to a cruise experience. Have you been on a
yeah,
cruise, and how they onboard thousands of people in a very short window? Well, they do it because you pre-check in before you get there, so your ID and your credit is already in their app or in their solution, right? And when you get there, you've already got your luggage tags because they sent them to you before, so that's not a problem. Your room has already been assigned, so you give that to them. So the only thing to do is they have to verify who you say you are, and you walk on the boat.
and I imagine it's more fulfilling for the employee as well. Like their job has become more complicated in the sense of more holistic, more fulfilling, and then they get to utilize technologies and other things. And so they're also sticking around a lot longer, I imagine, which is a different type of ROI.
Yeah, if employees like where they work, I mean, technology can force an employee to leave. Bad technology can say, I don't have to deal with this. This is too much of a headache. So I'm going to leave. It makes me feel stupid, or it's too much work. But you have a good employee that's boring, that just works like the light switch does, or when they go on Instagram and they write something. I mean, if you went to Instagram and it was hard to post every time you posted something and you couldn't figure out how to put music behind it, or you couldn't figure out how to tag your friends, would you use it? No, it's boring. The technology is boring, but it's powerful for you because it's easy to use, and you get what you want out of it.
Wow. So there's a lot of trust in here. You open your heart to a consultant. You share your fears. You share what is working, what is not. And I'm curious, if someone is looking to bring a consultant, what should they look to ensure the relationship will deliver real outcomes? Are there any soft red flags that might signal misalignment or something? What are those? What can you see at the beginning of the relationship that is going to work for you?
Well, make sure they're experienced, and ask them what problems they've solved in the past, and that's a big thing. Some of the little red flags you see is things like, does the consultant have insurance? Do they have general liability insurance? Do they have workers' compensation insurance? Because those are things real consultants have. Not that you'll hopefully ever have it a claim or whatever they call it against that, but it's good to know that for every time you go into somewhere that you've got a very large number that insurance company is entrusted in you, that you can do that. So look for general liability insurance. Look for workers' compensation insurance if they're in the U.S. and whatever the equivalent is international. And then you'll need to. And then there's other little red flags. Ask the consultant: do you take money from any other vendors? Do any vendors pay you to resell their product, or to whatever, or primarily resell or refer their product? Are you getting any commission from them also? Because that's wrong. They shouldn't be doing that. And vendors come to me all the time and goes, "Hey, Greg, we'll give you X% if you refer business to us." Well, I'm getting paid. I don't need your money, and I don't want to resell your product unless it's part of your business. If it's something that you do as part of it, but make sure that's disclosed. That's a big red flag, because how can you be objective if I'm picking between two systems and this guy's paying me and this guy's not? You can't help but think I'm going to lean toward the one that's going to pay me. If a travel agent is looking at two resorts and one's giving them a 15% commission, the other one's giving them a 10% commission or no commission, which one are they going to book? Exactly. So those are little red flags you can kind of look for and to understand, and then look and just like go to LinkedIn, see how many people they know, see who their contacts are. Are they connected in the technology community? Are they connected in the hospitality community? Do a little research on them and make sure that they're the real deal. Because there's a lot of great consultants in our space, and Kim, you've had several of them on your show this week that are good. And you just get someone you're comfortable with, and it's very hard to be a jack of all trades, if you will. Find someone that has experience with what problem you're looking to solve. Like if you're wanting to redesign your Wi-Fi infrastructure, don't call Gregg Hopkins. I'm not your guy. Call me. I'll give you the name of several guys I work with that will do that. But that's not my expertise, and I don't pretend like it is. I understand how Wi-Fi works, and I understand the pieces, but I'm not going to be doing a Wi-Fi framework for you or telling you how much bandwidth you need to do to support that. There's guys and gals out there that do a really good job with that, and we kind of and the better class of consultants in our space, we all work together. We'll share information with each other and share business, because it takes me less effort and less time to do something I know what I'm doing than for me to learn about that technology and then try to tell you how they're going to need it.
Absolutely. I love that. I know we're drawing a lot of parallels today, unintentionally, with the medical field, but I think that makes a lot of sense, right? Like when you need a specialist and
Yep.
a heart specialist or a dermatologist and that entire community has who they know to be a trustworthy individual to best treat the ailment, right, that one has. And I think that's extremely smart. And to your point and my point, I think it just builds that trust. And then if I ever do have a heart issue, then I know who I do want to.
Exactly.
I love that. Talking about your particular expertise, Greg, so it's not in Wi-Fi, but do tell us about your attaché technology consulting service approach. How is it structured? How does it address the full life cycle of a tech engagement?
Well, we start attaché, which if you look up the meaning of it, means trusted advisor. Basically, it's a delegate who's trusted in there. It's also a suitcase. There's a bunch of stuff in that bag that you're carrying. But the attaché approach is the first question we ask is, are we merely replatforming the existing processes and the data, or are we embarking on a general business transformation journey that's going to challenge the status quo? So you need to get an idea of what they're looking, how much risk are they looking to take, how innovative are they wanting to be, are they just doing a Me Too kind of thing? So that's kind of where attaché starts. We then get into, we'll evaluate the technology, we'll evaluate the existing technology framework, we'll present a status and an idea for ownership, what that technology strategy would cost them over the next 3 to 5 years, so they have a good understanding, so you have buy-in from them. And we'll again identify which systems are good but may need to be upgraded or may need to have some mitigation with the vendor. We'll identify which ones are legacy or soon end of life, and we'll identify solutions that they're missing in the whole piece. From there, attaché, we serve as a general contractor for technology. So we are kind of like when you're building a custom house. You don't have individual relationships with the plumber and the carpenter and the electrician. You do that all through a GC. That's how we approach our technology. So the hotel still will sign the agreements, but the billing all comes to us, and we audit everything that's done with that. And then the vendor or the hotelier pays us one bill on that month, and we distribute the payment back to the vendors. But it gives them that audit and making sure it's being delivered on what it is, it meets the contract, and there's pieces in there. So that's a big piece. And the reason we do that centralized billing and we go through the RFP management process and but the big in the RFP management is that, and the reason I told you earlier that we give typically a single solution on what we think is the best fit for what's working there, is that I read where in Gartner that 75% of B2B buyers prefer a sales-free experience. They don't want to deal with sales reps. They want to deal with someone they can trust.
I hire an accountant in tax season. I hate it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's not surprising, given the current process of how technology is evaluated and implemented today. So attaché will do everything from that original framework and the strategy, and this can be done in pieces or everything together. Because sometimes we do the strategy and they go, okay, thanks, Greg, we got it from here. Other times we'll do the general contractor services, which includes the RFP management, the centralized billing, and the deployment management services. And then something we just recently announced that we're offering is triage. So we are taking first line calls for all your technology. So if you say that my point of sale isn't posting to my PMS, who do you call? Is it a point of sale problem? Is it a PMS problem? Is it a Is it a technical problem? Is it an API problem? Most people don't know what it is. And there's some organizations that have people that do this. So this isn't for everybody, but this is for those independent hotels or small hotel groups that don't have that level in there where they can call Get Hoppy and we'll triage it. So we'll determine what the problem is and we'll follow up the resolution. Again, that's value add with what that is. And in some cases, we will have, if you need on-site IT support, we will put people on site working for you to do the triage service in there. So again, complete everything from beginning to end, where you can use this from the dream all the way to the ongoing piece of it, or you can just use it for pieces of the puzzle that you may need to have. But because Einstein said you can't solve your problem with the same thinking you used to create them. That's why we've reapproached, or I've reapproached what a true technology consultant partner should be in our industry in order to ensure you're going to get 100% success.
In those pieces that you share, when you're giving an audit, when you are bringing a solution to your clients, what is the role for education, due diligence, or partnership play in driving adoption or innovation across the ecosystem?
Oh, it's important. I mean, it's important that the training is done properly, that you're again applying the training. So there's two parts to it. There's to learn the mechanics of training, and there's also how does our hotel use that. So if you say this is how you check someone in on a system, well, that's only how you check them into the system. That's not how the hotel wants you to greet the guest. They don't what they're going to offer the guest, what they're going to do. So you got to do that operational training where they learn the basics on how to do it. But this is how we do it. This is our way of doing business, which is you've got to understand those processes and document those processes and understand that along the way. Partnerships are huge, and I refer to vendors who are going into as vendor partners all the time because they're an important role in what they're doing. And then obviously through some of the services we're doing, we have good partnerships with a lot of the vendors and understanding, because I'm seeing a trend in some of the technology companies in our space are becoming true technology companies, because so many of them are technology and services companies, and they're saying, we should really focus on being a technology company and not a professional services organization. First of all, there's not usually as much margin for them inside of that professional services group, and most of the time their boards don't care about services revenue. They care about monthly recurring revenue. And that's what drives so many organizations today. So as they're starting to transition a little bit, and I'm not saying they're offering no services, but saying, can we use a community of consultants and integrators to help us deploy our technology and let us focus on being a true technology company? And I'm starting to see a change in that. And I welcome that change. I encourage more and more of the vendors to kind of take that approach, because there's a lot of folks out there that I think could serve them better than how they're serving their customers today, which is what we talked about earlier, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great model. And I think with that, in terms of one shift you're identifying, right? You just did focusing more on the technology side, less on the service provider side. What's another major shift, let's say, whether it's AI, M&A, guest expectations? I mean, what are you paying attention to that you believe hospitality tech leaders simply can't afford to ignore right now?
I think the impact of AI is probably what I probably hear about most and what I probably look at most. But you got to understand, AI is not a feature of your solution. It's a technology being used inside of your solution. It's kind of like, if I went to you and say, we have everything on the cloud. Okay, who cares? I mean, everyone's got things in the cloud. So you say we have AI in our software. Okay, who cares? You're supposed to have AI. I believe the adoption of AI is going to be most valued from vendors who bring their AI to you, as opposed to you bringing their AI to them and asking them to adapt to that. I think AI has huge opportunity in the revenue management space, as well as in the CRM space and the analytics and business intelligence area. Big time is where it's going on. And I think you're always going to keep an eye also on data security and PII and all that, because if you ask most most CIOs I talk to, and I say, hey, what keeps you up at night? They'll say, I don't want to get hacked. I don't want to get breached. They worry about that more than they worry about AI. And that's going to always resonate with them. And that's another area that needs to be brilliantly boring, is the whole data security thing, where you just know it's always secure. But AI will probably have the biggest impact. AI probably, and it's related, I think, Kim, in America, is robots. I think robotic technology is going to have a bigger part into our in our space as the advancements continue to be made and the pricing continues to come down. You got to make it so that a robot would replace human capital or assist human capital in a way where it's less than what your human resources are.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. It reminds me of what Custódio Herreros had to say yesterday on Dojo Live about AI being an employee and treating it that way. And then, thinking about robotics or automation coming in, I don't know if this counts so much as, I guess it's a voice bot. Recently, we got to speak with Josh Graham at Cloudbeds, and they were introducing Engage, which is their AI concierge that answers telephone. And it's super fun to play with and does a really good job.
It's fascinating. It's coming at us faster than we know. If you don't embrace it, it's going to pass you. It's going to pass you right by.
Yeah. A little creeped out still. Me with like what are they called? Cyborgy robots. I don't think I'm interested in that quite yet, but I can have AI pick up the phone for me. I think it's fine.
I had someone telling me just this week, they go, I'm okay with a robot cleaning my room. I just don't want it to look like a person. Make it look like a robot.
Make it look like a robot.
That's what freaks me out.
I love it. Wrapping up, I'm sure we are going to see some robotics in action next week in Indianapolis at High Tech. Kicking off on Monday. What's your advice to vendors and hoteliers who want to get the most out of that experience, especially if they're trying to vet partners or plan tech investments?
Well, first thing to remember is High Tech is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So it's a long show. There's a lot of things going on. Get as much as you can out of the exhibit hours. Go to as many parties as you get invited to, because those are great networking opportunities to go on with that. Go with a little bit of an agenda of what you're looking for, and do a little pre-planning. Look at the exhibit floor. See who's there, and go look at that. If you've never been there before, or you don't know what you're looking for, reach out to the consultant community, and because I'd be happy to meet with folks that are I still have some spots on my calendar that's open that I'd be more than happy to show you around, and it's no obligation, no long-term contracts. I'd be more than happy to help people do that. But use those resources that are there, and to like I said, have a plan, because those trade show hours get away pretty quick. You get there at 10 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, okay, ready to go. I got all day to kill, and you look into, oh my gosh, it's 3:55. They're asking me to leave, and it happened. It can be a little bit of a blur, and it doesn't look like a huge show, but it takes a while even just to walk the aisles and to get through there. And check out the new stuff. Maybe if you go in with a little bit of a mindset of, maybe I'll find something I didn't know I needed, because check out the people who are on the wall and the little 10 by 10s that are the kind of the early entrants that are there. And go to 320X. 320X is a fabulous event. I've had the honor of working with them, I think, most of the 10 years that it's been in existence. And this year I'm serving as I mentor the companies on helping them prepare for what's going on. But they got some fabulous technology there this year, and it's a great session. And you kind of get a look at what's next there. And it's really well attended, so it's a good opportunity to see some people you may know there too. But that's on Wednesday morning before the show opens.
Absolutely. I agree. I think it's interesting what you've got the smaller up and coming companies doing, the ones who I think aren't yet trenched. They still have the vision, right, of what could be. And I think that's exciting, and to take a hold of that, and part of the M&A, maybe. That could happen.
There's a lot of room for M&A in our space, where there's a lot of room for consolidation. And it's always interesting what comes out of High Tech. There's usually something always new that you're gonna see. Plus, and it's also a great opportunity to meet with your to meet with your existing vendors, which I should have said that at the beginning, because It's a great time to see them and to see their leadership and to talk to them and see what they have going new, because we all know vendors don't do a great job of telling their customers what's new, so they can learn all about it at high tech.
Yeah, to be a bit more of the proactive side, kind of like we were talking at the beginning.
Yeah.
With your existing vendor, you're happy, but maybe they've got something new that you're not taking advantage of. Learn about it, bring it home.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, that is a wrap on today's Dojo Live with Mr. Gregg Hopkins. Thank you so much for helping us understand why tech consulting must go beyond procurement and even beyond the implementation phase. So, Gregg, at High Tech or elsewhere, if the audience wants to connect with you to learn more about your consulting work, what's the best way to do that?
Probably LinkedIn is the most consistent way. Just drop me a message on LinkedIn, or go to my website, which is gregghopkins.com. And that's probably the easiest way. And I'll look forward to. I respond always and usually pretty quickly. Unless I'm at High Tech next week, then I get a little behind. But
be patient with all of us.
Give me a week.
And that's Gregg with a double G for those of you who are listening and not watching. All right, perfect. Fantastic. Thank you again. Thank you, America, for joining me today. And we'd also like to thank Encora, our sponsor, for making these conversations possible. Encora does partner with travel and hospitality companies to accelerate their innovation, their world-class engineering solutions. And thank you again to our audience for tuning in. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to follow us across the wide variety of socials and check out all past episodes at dojo.live. And you can also keep track of what's coming. What's coming is a final show as part of our Tech Enablers series. We don't usually have shows on Friday, but we are having one, and that's at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific with Provision partners David Chesler and Daniel Johnson. So we'll see you there. And until then, stay curious, stay innovative, and bye for now. Thank you, Gregg. Thank you, Ami.
You're welcome.